welcome to this video series that we're doing with Cosmos Hub, and thank you for taking our time out of your Cosmos 2024 schedule.
Yeah, absolute pleasure.
It's a very busy time, so of course. I think to begin with, could you give us like an introduction about you? What project are you working on, and what's your role?
Okay, so just to keep it a long story short, I think there are plenty of things we could discuss, so I'll just stick to the essential and the surface of it. So, multiple interactions with the Cosmos ecosystem at all sorts of, I would say, level of the stack. Deep down the rabbit hole of execution, we have a validator for this, which has been pretty successful. Like we've launched, I think, a year and a half ago with some sorts, and we're already ranking around the top 30, so which is pretty awesome, I would tend to say the least. Some other more interesting stuff, more deep down the kind of governance rabbit hole, we created an initiative that's called Cosmos Initiative, which primary goal has been to kind of revamp discussions around the governance use cases of blockchain technology, mainly focused on multiple things. The most visible ones have been like actually revamping existence and life into the Cosmos Hub forum, which back then was just like a desert. And now I would say, well, 1 year later, kind of have created some interesting mechanics back in there. So for the Cosmos things, and also advising a hell of a lot on kind of strategic decision making to different Cosmos projects, and also have a lot of traditional finance kind of experience, so money management and all sorts of stuff. Recently been onboarding into the Hydro DAO, so which has been kind of discovered by many people today. So I'm going to be like the wet listing manager, so kind of risk manager for the Hydro DAO, essentially.
I think to begin with, you can like sort of take us through how you got into the Cosmos ecosystem and how did you start exploring in it? Okay,
so here as well, I'll try to make it long story short. So we all have history with the crypto ecosystem in general. I think that the path is, for me, pretty much like the general grand scheme of things is starting with Bitcoin. Back I heard it into 2018, prices were skyrocketingly stupid. And it came to the vicinity of me by just the people I work with who somehow was like, yeah, I feel you need to buy Bitcoin, whatever. And I was like, oh boys, that's really dangerous. You're at the top of the bubble. God knows how high this will go, but for sure it will take 90% plus drawdown afterwards. So I was like, yeah, be careful, folks. So like more as a risk manager, generally teaching trading to people, I was like, yeah, you guys are really doing some stupid thing here, so go back to earth. But still, nevertheless, it took kind of a couple of years to get it back down to some more manageable level for buy entries. And the idea was, yeah, okay, let's take that amount of time to make it a fruition. And the idea was like, though I got caught into Bitcoin first, but really easily you kind of understand that, yeah, Bitcoin is kind of the next reserve currency for the world or whatever. It might be taking 50 years to get there, but you kind of easily understand the mechanic behind it. So it's fairly easy for like a financial mind to understand what Bitcoin is deserved to eventually be, and I insist on eventually. Though you quickly go down the rabbit hole, and the next stage is to understand Ethereum as a potential replacement infrastructure for the financial system altogether, and all sorts of financial mechanisms, intermediary, brokers replacement, all of these things would kind of gravitate around Ethereum due to its first mover advantage into execution capabilities and EVM stuff, while still maintaining incredibly unmatched level of decentralization. So you have that kind of thing. And then the kind of, I would say, third step for a normal crypto being is either you're going to go all the way to the surface and kind of put your way into trading, stupidly trying to buy the thing that's the most volatile. If you really go down the technology itself, there's only one step further to me behind Ethereum. It's going down to the Cosmos ecosystem. Like Cosmos is like, to me, like the exploration of the real world application use cases of blockchain technology, not just beyond finance and high market depths, which require a tremendous level of security. When you have kind of a dispersed network of chains that all serve specific purposes, I've actually released an entire report on the fact that most of actual Cosmos chains are probably going to be private chains or hybrid kinds of systems. So we'll keep it there for the long story to be short. But to me, that's how I trickle down my way into Cosmos. And I think, yeah, Cosmos is the next stage and probably actually the last one, honestly speaking.
For people who are planning to build on Cosmos in different capacities, what do you think it makes it unique compared to its other, like, peer blockchains like Polkadot, Ethereum, Solana?
Sure. Though we had that discussion yesterday and right before the interview. So honestly speaking, I think if you really try to thought out this system down to the deepest core of it, like defining the core principle that makes it different from any other attempts or similar kind of projects that try to achieve the same thing, the narrative would be interoperability, for sure. Though interoperability brings up some sorts of trade-offs, Some of them are going to be privacy, and we may discuss that at a later stage. But very one important is, well, if you want to have a native interoperability between sovereign system, because yeah, Cosmos is basically that. That means you're natively interoperable while still being sovereign. Though that means you need to interoperate between two kinds of consensus. Okay, so I mean you need to be able to trust the other party, which is on the other side of that connection, which we call IBC in the Cosmos ecosystem. So long as you understand that you need to find a way for consensus to trust each other in a cryptographic way. And when you have that in mind, you understand that if you want this system to scale, not just to connect 3 or 4 chains, but imagine like dozens, hundreds, eventually even more than that, then you are going to face one big problem, which is the information propagation paradox, which means the further outward you want to send that information through multiple hoops, the more you're going to delay that information and have potentially extractable value to be made out of this, either by intermediaries or all sorts of things. So I mean information processing in the system needs to be as fast as possible. But for consensus to trust each other, you need one thing that's called finality. So you need consensus with as fast as possible finality and native interoperability while still being sovereign. And if you bundle it all together, there's only Cosmos that does that. No one else can.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, and remember that consensus need to have something to put in line. So the consensus need to be slashable. That's very important. Like, this is the last piece of the puzzle.
What I wanted to also understand, since you've mentioned about working on the governance side of it also, what is it something that makes Cosmos governance like very enjoyable, very interesting, while also something that makes it challenging at times?
So if you start off with the broader kind of Cosmos Hub governance, it's been a mess. It's been a reputation actually for the Cosmos to be like that. Hopefully we've contributed, at least I hope, we've contributed with the Cosmos initiative to kind of bring some more well thought out kind of reflection into the post instead of just shitting on each other for pointless purposes or whatever. So I think anyway, this is just like the chaotic mess which is inevitably going to happen with decentralized ecosystem, and when more or less when they actually are in the early stages. So I think whatever happens now feels to me like pretty healthy actually. Some people may complain about it, but I think it's just healthy decentralized ecosystem kind of into action.
Is there a proposal or like, a governance proposal or a forum discussion that was very memorable for you?
So many of them. And like I said, my history with Cosmos compared to all of the participants you might have seen here is much more recent. I think I got into Cosmos in 2021 or so. I remember this was basically when the first IBC transaction actually happened. And that's where I understood the kind of mesh propagation information system and the benefits it could bring to the real economy. But since then, well, the implications in the ecosystems are much more recent, actually. Like the validators 1.5 years ago, Cosmos initiative started pretty much, yes, somewhat the same, I'd say, a year and a half or so. So my recent, I would say, deep involvement with the Cosmos ecosystem is pretty recent. So looking at this, there were previous kinds of proposals that were tremendously interesting. Those that came to mind to me, which very changed the direction of the Cosmos Hub, was like the ATOM 2.0 rejection. Like many people still pay too much attention to this in the fact that they say this was a rejection. I don't think it was. It was like a clear message that you just can't bundle things together with a single vision, like you guys figured it out, now let's put it into motion. No, it's really like you guys might have figured individual pieces that were right. You should have submitted individually instead of going all together. Though you might have seen this kind of misconception where the smart people actually understood that the ATOM 2.0 vision is mostly coming to fruition today, but just not bundled all together. So this, I would say, to me, is the most remarkable governance application in the system. That means you can still have something that overall will be perceived as a rejection, ended up actually not being for those who care.
Interchain security is a very important module of Cosmos, and it's slowly getting traction as well. We've got more and more consumer chains slowly popping up. What do you think the Cosmos Hub can do more to incentivize more projects to adopt interchain security?
Whoa, that's a very, very good question. That's one that I'm hardly working out now to get people to understand. That ICS has done is iterating upon multiple stages. Like ICS V1 was definitely not market fit, but whoever was familiar with the kind of system knew this would probably be the case because the cost of getting into 180 validators is just so stratospherically imaginable. So there were hardly going to be projects being able to provide the rewards that would be sufficient enough to pay for validation. So the idea was altogether it was releasing a V1 with a longer term vision, and as always, people tend to criticize the lack of performance of the V1, not really understanding V2. So the vision for ICS has always been to be partial set security evolved, like ICS V2. We've actually been mandated to kind of create the economic model to explain how this actual system works. So if you want to go deep down the rabbit hole, I can get you all the way down if you want to. I think it's not the purpose of that video. So all I can say is we've released a forum post explaining everything about the fundamental mechanics and economics behind PSS and how this would radically change the way ICS works, putting the kind of business development in the hands of validators more than just the general governance stuff. So it's more like ICS now under the PSS, and there's still the top end, which is more or less similar to a better version of ICS 1. But ICS 2 on the PSS kind of side of the equation is really like a peer-to-peer agreement between projects and validators. And boy, I could get you right down the rabbit hole even further, because there's so many more things that we can do with ICS, but not even going to mention it now.
You also mentioned that you're working with Hydro DAO.
Yeah.
And I think the liquidity mechanism that it has, with the governance module, it's something super exciting. There is a lot of talk about it, and I think that's also important. What do you think is something unique and like the value that it brings that could be really helpful for projects in Cosmos in terms of getting the utility and the liquidity from it, and how it can really power bringing in more users, make more chains successful?
So here as well, I could speak about that for hours. Like I would say, being part of the Hydro DAO for me was, you would have told me about it like 1 year ago and I would be, yeah, no way this happens. But for what reason it happens. And I think I'm right in the perfect spot. Like in Cosmos, we've been, honestly for a distance, I've been seeing a serious lack of financial mindset and like financially related individuals in the ecosystem. They're tremendously talented developers and all sorts of visionaries and sorts like that. But the kind of really roved down TradFi kind of guys, systems, math and stats, which is exactly what I am. So to me, that was just like, okay, I don't know how I ended up being like the whitelist management in the Hydro committee, but I think now that I am in that position, I feel like I found my way into this. God knows how I ended up there, but I am where I should be. This is where I can serve the hub in the best possible way, bringing the knowledge that I have into the best possible form. So helping the Hydro DAO helps me understand how the system works really deep down the rabbit hole as well. We could speak for it for hours. The idea is, well, people still look as well. To me, it feels like it's going to follow the same path as ICS. Like the V1 of Hydro is going to be pretty much criticized. It's going to serve some very simple purpose, highly needed for sure. But just like to me, I don't care necessarily about ICS V1. I was always caring about ICS V2. I definitely feel like Hydro V2 or V3 is what matters the most to me. So this is where I'm going to be, for once, be one of the key players to make it happen. Not necessarily the only one. It's a decentralized organization, and we're still accommodative and reliable to the community. It's just, well, we're going to try pushing this thing in the right direction. So right now it's just like a protocol on liquidity platform, solving the number one problem of you can't just send out liquidity for free. And you cannot just bloat the governance for small kinds of proposals. So this is exactly what Hydro is going to do to solve kind of the protocol on liquidity deployment system, with a reviewing committee, a technical reviewing committee, where all the kind of members are highly competent for their job. On my end, I will serve like the risk management, to say I'm here as the whitelist guy, so just to say it is definitely not like a censorship kind of stuff. It's just I will help project to either refine their actual risk strategy and advise certain to just say, okay, maybe wait for a later date so we can get some more capabilities within Hydro, like for example, slashing capabilities and all sorts of stuff, like reward sharing, lots of things will evolve. So to me, the end of it is just Ethan just got to talk about it, and I think we have exactly the same vision. Hydro is going to be like a first decentralized treasury system, like not just spending out ATOM outwards. It will be ATOM, USDC, TIA, whatever tokens. I think even other ecosystem chains will actually be willing to deposit into Hydro, just because we have a competent set of individuals who are perfectly suited to get that liquidity outward in the best possible way, in using community input. It's just basically, we're not the kind of a community deciding where the money gets distributed. We just kind of make sure it happens the best possible way and the community gets to vote.
Got to speak with few engineers also who are working, from the informal team.
Yeah.
It's really so passionate the way they talk about it. So I'm definitely
yeah, because we're into it, and this kind of product is just going to market today, or in the following days. So it's really going to happen. And just for the sake of answering the question correctly, it's just like if informal guys and other kind of community members you might have interviewed or feel very passionate about, it's because we are. And we've been working on this thing for months. And it's just getting to fruition for you guys. But for us, it's been a hard work for down the pipelines for months.
Are there any like features or tooling that's coming to Cosmos that you're really excited to see, like, come to life, and it's gonna really like pivot Cosmos, or like, really like launch it for more growth in the coming year or so?
Yeah. We had so much interesting discussions. I mean, I couldn't hardly say how the Cosmoverse was just transforming, because, well, full bear market vibes, very few people here, only the hardcore is here. And you feel the passion of these guys, like, we should be all dead, remember? Everything's dead, we're all going to die, whatever. Yet, I've been managing to speak with very educated minds, with so deep discussions that I could hardly say how motivating that is. And some of these guys are actually building tremendously great product for the hub. So, like, you have the binary builders who've just been pitching like Halo and all sorts of kind of Cosmos aligned products, which to me are just, so smart. It's just, I can hardly say. We might be another hardcore core of Cosmos still surviving today, but just, boy, we've saved the brightest minds.
I'm going to jump into the rapid fire bit. ATOM as a token. Would you sell it or compound it?
Oh man, forever hold it.
Why do you think cosmonauts should hold ATOM?
Yeah, cash flows. If you understand cash flow, boy, just hold it.
Name one challenge that's facing Cosmos up today.
Community criticisms, not understanding. I think possibly a lack of marketing, most importantly. I think the way we communicate is pretty much something we can improve upon.
Who should be the CEO of Cosmos?
No one.
What was your first token and how did you get it?
Bitcoin.
Okay, and what was your first Cosmos token?
Oh, the first Cosmos token? No, ATOM, for sure, no questions. And I don't diversify crazy things. So, to me, most of my portfolio on Cosmos is in ATOM.
Did you buy ATOM on a centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange?
Good question. Both of them.
Okay. What are some of your go-to tools, tabs, or platforms that you're like, absolutely enjoying using right now?
Yeah, I think that depends on what you're willing to do. The things that I use the most, honestly, are just like either the voting system, or just, like I said, I'm participating in governance. The number one duty for me is to actually participate in voting. So I would use wallets kinds of way to vote, and I think there's a lot that can be improved in here, just another topic. Other things that I do is pretty simple DeFi, like not a DeFi degen, but to me, like right now, cheap prices means most of the thing that I do is like either swapping rewards into another currency or margining the trade through Nodus or other kinds of projects.
Do you think interchain security is more of a safety net or is it a growth accelerator in Cosmos?
Oh, well, don't touch me on that. We can be there for an hour. So, no, literally interchain security is a native core pieces of the puzzle, which we alleviated some of the mechanisms earlier. Remember, the consensus need to trust each other. They need to have collateral, which is instant stashable. And if you turn it all around, that means either everyone just brings its own kind of collateral into their consensus. They could use USDC, whatever, but it's pretty monetary inefficient way of doing things. Using a native Cosmos capital, token denom that can be transported from IBC is very important, and have one that can be easily rehypothecated in a safe manner. And I think, well, once again, core primitives, there's only one token that does that today. Many have tried. I think ATOM is going to be the only one.
But if you were to choose something that was like 5149, or you can say both also.
No, I'm sorry. To me, the market share capture for ATOM in interchain security is going to be so massive that there's no one that can compete.
If you were to describe Hydro in 3 words?
Decentralized treasury management.
Is there an underrated project in Cosmos?
Nearly all of them.
Huh?
I think the Cosmos in general right now is just so much underrated. People don't understand the true strength and force there is in the App Chain thesis.
Do you want to give us like a tagline or a catchphrase about building on Cosmos?
Like coming to Cosmos, fuck man, just understand it. I don't want to see uneducated people joining Cosmos. It's not a matter of bringing in a lot of traders or gamblers or whatever. I think it's an investor kind of token. Needs to make your own research, your own due diligence. I'd rather like to have far few, but very well educated, high net worth individual understanding what the fuck is going on with ATOM and the shared security hypothecation system, rather than just having a million of uneducated folks trading NFTs. I don't think ATOM is a token to play with. it's a cash flow financial institution kind of stuff.
That's a wrap. That was fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really loved all your answers.